Welcome to another episode of Outliers. I'm your host, Molly Hawkins, and today we're talking about sports broadcasting, careers in the ever-changing landscape. I have a woman who will most likely be taking my job after today. My friend Jackie Montgomery, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Molly. I promise I'm not taking your job. It's all you, girl.
She's a sports announcer, most recently known for her work with the Seattle Sounders and the Seahawks, but it all really started with action sports, spending time at FuelTv. It's an action sports channel and announcing for folks like Street League. If for a lot of you might know of that event, it's a big time skate event that tours the country. But thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I don't have necessarily a formal background in broadcasting, and how am I doing so far?
So far, so good. I think you're doing great.
Thank you. If you have any tips along the way, please.
Oh, feel free to ask away. So happy to help.
I figure I take advantage of it while there's a pro in the studio here with me. So.
That word is can go a lot of different ways with pro.
Okay. Well, speaking of background, maybe you can share a little bit about your background. Talk about how you got into broadcasting, and I'd love to share with our listeners, what it takes to get here, and does that require school?
I definitely think everyone's path is different. Obviously, like I went to school. This is something that's new for you, and you're right here doing a great job with it. So I definitely think everyone's path is different. For me, it was definitely very unique. I was actually going to school to be a teacher originally, and then just kind of saw someone doing some reporting at an Xgames. Like, is probably, I think, one of the first years Xgames was in Los Angeles, where I'm from. And I was like, man, that is so cool. I had no idea that was even a job, that somebody could be doing that. And so I was like, I want to be doing that because, I grew up around action sports, and instead of me paying to go to one of these events, and I wanted someone to pay me to be here at these events. Yeah. So went to school and changed my major into broadcasting and got an internship with this show called 54321 that is so old. I doubt anyone remembers it. And then, just started kind of working my way from there. Got as involved as possible with the broadcasting department at my school. I went to Pepperdine in California, go Waves. And I was really shocked that with action sports, I figured with it being such a small niche that it would be pretty easy to break through into the action sports world with doing reporting. But surprisingly, because it's such a small niche, it's really hard to kind of break through those barriers of finding a job into action sports. So I actually started off doing mainstream sports, which is I also have that background. I have family members that have played football, basketball, baseball. So it was something that I was always really that I was around quite a bit as well growing up. I was just the black sheep and went towards action sports instead of the mainstream sports. So I started off in mainstream sports covering, I used to do play-by-play for my college basketball team and the volleyball teams. And because we would live stream them on a local station in Malibu. And so I would do the play-by-play for that. And then was just very lucky. I mean, they say so much of this job is just, when luck and opportunity meet and you're able to go with it from there. And so I was just trying to build my my demo reel to send out my senior year of college. And I just so happened to be doing some stand-ups just, for my own use, nothing big. And I was sitting in front of the vice president. And at that time he was, now he's big head honcho at Fox, but anyways, two big wigs at Fox Sports, and they're like, hey, are you are you reporting for ESPN? I was using an ESPN mic flag that my friend was letting me borrow, and I was like, no, I was like, I'm just shooting, for my reel, and they're like, oh, well, when you graduate from college, we'll get you a job as a production assistant. So started off as a production assistant and was would log countless hours of games, any game that you could think of, and would cut highlights for this old show on Fox called The Final Score. It's not around anymore, but it was like Fox's version of SportsCenter at the time. And so I worked for them for a long time, just cutting highlights and writing scripts, and then they would kind of just give me little jobs here and there to kind of just build my reel, and then eventually started getting jobs, again, mainstream sports. My first job was covering the BCS National Championship game in 2006 when Florida and Ohio State were competing for the title, and I was the field broadcaster for FSN Ohio, and that was my first job, and then kind of just found my way. And so, sorry, that was like a very long answer to how I ended up getting in TV.
No, that's fantastic because, I think about, the principle in which this show is based on and talking about the Outliers principle that Malcolm Gladwell hangs his hat on. And, you really had to get your 10,000 hours in at some point.
Yeah.
And that time spent, logging your hours, the games and whatnot, I feel like that was pivotal, most likely. Gave you a place to really groom your skills.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it was a great way. I mean, I've always been a big advocate of knowing everything that is involved with broadcasting, whether it's on the producing side or camera side, lighting, teleprompter, and I've done all of it. So I think that, it definitely helped get me to where I am, because if you can do things on the producing side, you kind of know what your producer or director is looking for when you're on the other side of the camera. So I think it's something that's definitely helped in the process.
Shit, I should hire your shit. Like I said, you're probably going to have my job. I mean, Josh is sitting over here on the other end of the counter just waiting to offer you a job. My God.
We can talk later, Josh. No,
so what's your favorite sport to announce or to actually cover?
Oh, man, I really love them all. I think that,
You can't love them all.
well, I've covered so many random sports. Sometimes I don't even know how I can fit all the information into my head. But I obviously really love covering soccer, which is what I do now. It definitely was not if you had asked me 5 years ago that this is what I'd be doing, I would have laughed at you and said, you're crazy. Because soccer is actually the one sport that I had no idea. I was not familiar with soccer. Just in California, it just wasn't something that I grew up around. And so it was something that was extremely foreign to me, aside from watching like World Cup games when they would come around. Like, I really was not exposed to soccer growing up. And so when I got that job, I was working for Fox Sports West, and I was covering their like high school football and college.
Awesome.
High school football games.
I'm probably getting hit on all the time.
There's a lot of asking out to prom, that's for sure. But I covered high school football and college basketball and college football, and they're kind of stepping stones into getting you ready for professional sports. Was starting off with Major League Soccer, which when I started, Major League Soccer is nowhere near where it is now, because this was, maybe 8 years ago, which is so scary to think. But and so that was just kind of, they threw me in and assigned me to soccer, and now this is what I do. But so soccer, football, I love football. I love any chance I get to work with the Seahawks. It's really probably the highlight for me is when I get to work with the Seahawks. But I really miss action sports. It's really unfortunate that we don't have an outlet anymore. And obviously FuelTv is no longer around. Rest in peace, Fuel. But that was by far, I think, one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had, just because it really, connected both the passion that I want to do with my career, but also the passion of just what I do, how I live my everyday life. It's something, action sports and broadcasting was something that was just a perfect combination for me.
Talk a little bit about the differences in broadcasting for action sports versus mainstream sports. I mean, of course, there's a smaller pool of dollars and resources that go into that industry. Yeah. But I mean, from the production standpoint and what you're doing now, what's the scale? How does that differ?
I think the biggest difference is action sports, because it's such a laid back environment. It's they're really looking for you to kind of be that person that's really outside of the box, and like not the formal. I don't want to say like professional, because I feel like either way it's your job, so you have to be professional. But I feel like with action sports, there's just so much more laid back,
it's kind of like a scene, and you had to kind of you
really have to immerse yourself in the lifestyle, which I mean for us is easy because it's something that we do, that's just our lifestyle as it is. But and, I mean, we snowboard and we skate and we surf. And so it's just something that comes natural. And so it's just being around that environment. I feel like it's just the athletes at times are a lot more accessible in action sports because it is such a small community. Everybody knows everyone. And then with mainstream sports, it's very buttoned up, very conservative, very professiontional.
You look beautiful on the screen, I gotta say.
Thank you. Don't be fooled by all the hair and makeup, girlfriend. But yeah, I feel like with regular sports, it's just, it's just on the other end of the spectrum. But maybe I think that's kind of what I bring to the table is that I'm still have a little of that action sports flair. So I'm not as, in this pigeonhole, I guess, as with the regular sports. So.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Jackie Montgomery. We're talking about action sports and broadcasting in general, I guess, and contrasting, her work today, working with Major League Soccer and the Seahawks and the Sounders, but also going back to her roots, her time in action sports. And so the question that's been burning a hole in my pocket, how many times did you get to interview Beckham?
Well, working for the LA Galaxy, gosh, I would talk to him pretty much on a weekly basis. When I worked for the team, I worked for Fox Sports, and we were the official broadcast team for LA Galaxy. So yeah, I would be around him pretty much on a weekly basis. So
sounds terrible.
It was horrible. Before I had even worked for the Galaxy, I had a huge crush on David, as I'm sure most whether you're male or female, I feel like a majority of the country, or just the world for that matter, has, thinks he's easy on the eyes. So
was it distracting when he'd interview? Would he ever take his shirt off or have his shirt off when you were interviewing?
For, just in soccer in general, just kind of the tradition which is so unique to soccer versus any other sport. After games, it's just a tradition that players take their shirts off and exchange jerseys with the other team. Right. And so, yes, so I have interviewed him with his shirt off at game, post-game interviews. And I guess it could be distracting for most, but I feel like I can't believe that I'm going to say you get used to it. But yeah, it's just so common. You see them, after training, kind of like stripping down because it's so hot in Southern California or something like that. So, yeah.
So aside from Beckham, it sounds like that became old hat and just normal for you. Do you ever get starstruck with some of the folks that you get to work with now or have in the past? That's got to be really cool having.
For soccer wise, I think David was definitely the biggest. He was in that world. I got a little nervous around him the most. I actually interviewed like Cristiano Ronaldo a couple years ago, and that was a big one too. I wouldn't say that I was nervous or anything. The only people that I've ever, I guess, like fanned out on, and I wasn't actually interviewing them. I just like saw them at events, actually a skateboarding event, which is really random. When they used to have the Maloof Money Cup back in the day. Kobe Bryant came out to he was just like a guest at the game or at the contest for some reason. And I'm from LA, so I'm a huge Lakers fan. And so I kind of fanned out when I saw Kobe Bryant. Also, when I was in LA, I was at dinner and LeBron James was at dinner at like a couple tables down from me. And I got kind of excited. It was right after the U.S. had won the gold medal at the Summer Olympics a couple years ago. And I like beelined for him and pushed his bodyguard out of the way just to like meet LeBron and shake his hand and say like, thanks for winning the gold medal. And I remember like when I walked away, I had this just like beaming smile, and like the bodyguard was like, don't you ever push me out of the way. And I was like, I'm sorry, I was just really excited. But I think, those were the only two. And then, when working, with the Sounders and Seahawks, now it's different because we're in a different building. But when I did work in the building, the VMAC where the Seahawks train, it's like you would see players walking all the time, and just being a fan of football and being a fan of the team. You couldn't help but be like, holy cow, that's Richard Sherman walking down the hallway, or that's Russell, and so. Yeah.
Cool. It's got to be pretty amazing to be able to live out that dream or be, at the pinnacle of what a broadcasting career, somebody interested in the sports background, Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
So let's talk a bit about broadcasting. In recent, past even, people were able to just flip a switch, tune in and there's a finite, limited amount of channels available.
Yeah.
And so you watch sports, you watch cartoons, you watch news, you watch, PBS. But now we have so many options. You have the internet, streaming, you have mobile, you name it. I mean, do you see, where you're at? Does that impact you, or do you hear that conversation buzzing around, considering I know maybe talk a little bit about what you're doing for the Seahawks and the Sounders. And, I think it's.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the media landscape has changed. I graduated from college in 2006, and that's crazy. That's almost 10 years now. But right when I was graduating was really when digital media was starting to get bigger. And just because I feel like, our generation, we grew up with the internet being, when it was really being developed and becoming a part of like mainstream culture. And so the digital platform was something that I always embraced. I feel like when I was graduating and going through, getting my broadcast degree, a lot of people, they were just very focused on being a television broadcaster. And at that time I was like, well, this whole new platform of digital media is coming about. And so that was something that I was really always open to. And I'm so glad I did, because it's such a huge platform today. Looking back, I wish I had been more involved with like the social media. That was something that I had never fully embraced at its peak, or when it was really getting started. I guess it's still going, it still hasn't even reached its peak, but that was something that I never embraced, just because I am kind of a homebody when it really comes down to it. I really don't like, sharing a lot of like my personal, like, unless it's strictly work. But yeah, I feel like just media as a whole, it's just really moved to a digital platform, and social media has become such a huge part of it as well.
And does that downstream create pressure for you as a public figure? I know a lot of the newscasters and, personalities, they have to be on their social media game. Do you experience that?
Yeah. I had never, like I said, I never really embraced social media, especially Twitter was something that was really hard for me to get to really just grasp and embrace. I always like say that it's a necessary evil now, and my social media manager at the Sounders yells at me every time I say that. But yeah, no, I really never even had Twitter until working for Major League Soccer. We did this whole big like road trip, and it was something that they kind of forced upon me to do. So I made them like create my whole account, create everything. And so I kind of just took over, and even still, it's something that I'm very much a newbie to. I'm still kind of learning about it. So,
well, I follow you, and
Thanks,
I see your tweets come through every once in a while.
Molly.
So, does that also put pressure on you to, I guess, or maybe the station is doing this, but producing content, natively for, of course, the broadcasts that you see live every Sounders game that you're on. But what about web-based broadcasts and programming?
Well, yeah, I just think that because social media is such a big part of today's media culture, because it's not only, good to get the information out there, and your information is so readily available these days, but everyone essentially is a brand, and you're building your own brand, and somebody is much more likely to hire you or have their eyes on you if you have, anything above like 5,000 Twitter followers, you know what I mean? Because it's just, they know that they have an automatic audience when you have a following already. So social media is just such a huge part of today's media landscape. And so, yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of pressure to build that social media following.
It's crazy. It's almost like a full-time job. It doesn't turn off after you leave the studio.
Oh, you're so right. There's times where it's like 10 o'clock at night and people are still tweeting at you, and I'm like, okay, I have to like turn, like I try to set a time, like work hours in a sense of like 8 o'clock. It's like I can't do. Off. I know, it's really crazy. It is nonstop.
So how about being a female in a man's world? Do you ever think about that, or is it something? If you've been into action sports, you've probably gotten your hands dirty with the boys, and you've come up in action sports with a lot of guys. But you're now I watch your broadcast, and it's you and a couple guys, and all the athletes are men, and what's it like?
Yeah, it's funny. I just Instagram a photo from our last game this past Saturday. And it was our whole broadcast team. And we did have a special guest, so it did add an extra figure in there. But it was 6 guys and myself. And I was just like, it's like holding it down for the ladies, But I feel like nowadays there's a lot more women in sports broadcasting. So it's definitely not as unusual as it was in the past. I feel like when I was first starting, there was still a lot of females in there, but there was definitely like a select few. There was like Susie Kohlberg and Linda Cohen and there is a handful of them, but now there's so many. So I feel like it's definitely it's the norm now. It's not abnormal to have women in sports.
Is it? Do they have to? Is it kind of like, oh, there's a perfect mix, 2 guys and a girl, on camera, or is it intentional, or just you were the perfect fit, so they're like, yes?
I don't know. I think with this in the Sounders case, I was just a good fit. It was just a good timing that. They were looking for someone new when they were switching stations, and so I had been working with them for a long time. So I think in that circumstance, it was a good fit. But I do think that there are some situations where they are looking for a female figure to be a part of the broadcast.
So what's next for your career? Where does broadcasting, or where does a career for a broadcaster typically go? Where do you see yourself going? Because I know you never imagined you would be. My whole goal out of college was just to be an action sports reporter, and I did that for 5 years when that was still going on, and so I feel really fortunate, and really everything now is just kind of icing on the cake. So I feel like I'll just kind of ride this wave until it dies. And then something that I really would love to get into is teaching. Like I said, coming full circle, I started off wanting to be a teacher. And so I think now my path is, once my broadcast career does end, I would love to be a college professor and teach broadcasts to the future broadcasters of America, just because I had some really, really great professors when I was in school that were really instrumental in, helping create me and really help my path along the way. So that's something that I think I would like to do. Maybe you can impart your first lesson to our listeners who are out there who might be looking to pursue a career in broadcasting. Any tips you would want to share? I think networking is probably the biggest key. I feel like that old saying of it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Mm-hmm. Granted, what you know is very important, and I don't want to discount that, but who you know is just such a huge part of this business, just because, friends want, people that already know your name or know kind of what you can provide, instead of going into this whole pool of people that they don't know. It's they're going to reach out to obviously the people that they know are qualified and able to do the job. So I feel like networking is a big part, and just going back to the whole social media. If I could have redone that part of my career, I would have taken social media and ran with it right when Twitter and everything was coming about, because like I said, if you're building your own brand, and that's such a huge part of everything as well. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we have for you today. Jackie, thank you for joining me. Yeah, thank you for having me. Sorry, I talk a lot, guys. To hear more of Jackie's lovely voice, tune into your next Sounders game and check out outliersproject.com. Until next time, get out there and do something awesome. Thanks, guys.